Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are doing another deck profile. This time we're going back to Code Talkers. A couple weeks ago when the new Math Mech cards came out, I did a profile for like the more control build, like the Heat Soul control version with the Math Mech engine added in. This is more of that actual combo build utilizing Cynet Codec and going crazy with like some of the Code Talker combos. I'm not going all the way in. There are definitely some things that I did leave out of the list because I think at some point there are just a lot of good options for Cyberse, whether it's some of their end board pieces, whether it's extra deck slots, whether it's main deck cards, and they all just like, it gets to the point where you can't make all of them turn one and you have to make choices. So at that point, if you're making choices, why play all of them when they're kind of just like gunking up the whole deck list? So I have cut some things. We'll talk about that as we go through. But you guys know the new format. We're going to do the deck list first up top. Then we're going to run through the card choices, actual going into explanations there. Then I'm going to show you a quick combo. And I'll show you by finishing up, we'll actually take a look at maybe a test hand, see how that rolls out. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the deck list. Alright, so running through this super quick, we're going to start with triple copies of Lady Debug, triple copies of Microcoder, one code generator, one dot scraper to pair with it, and then the Cyberse converter. From there, one copy of Gatchiriad Ignister and a full playset of Parallel Exceed, triple copies of Math Mech Circular, one Sigma, one addition, and one subtraction, rounding out the Math Mech lineup there, and actually all of our monsters. No hand traps monster-wise in the main. Into the spells, triple copies of Cynet Mining, triple copies of Cynet Codec. This is the only proxy in the deck. I don't actually play Penguin Sword. I just thought it was funny because I had it next to me, but this is supposed to be Small World. It's the only card I don't have in the list. It's the only proxy here, so apologies for that, but yeah, it's another really good search spell in the deck. It's why we play 3 Parallel Exceed as well. Reborn, triple copies of Dark Ruler, double triple Tactics Talents, and a Mind Control and Change of Heart as well. Finishing up with the spells, one Called by the Grave and one Crosswipe for the quick plays. Mystic Mine out and Called is Called, you know that. Then in triple Imperm, only hand trap we play in the deck, double Rivalry of Warlords, and of course our Cynet Conflict and our Math Mech Super Factorial, rounding out the last 2 cards in the main deck. I believe that's a 45 card main. You kind of have to go over 40 in this deck. I just believe that right now. Moving into the extra, the only Link one I play is Lingaribo. Debatable. We'll see. I'll talk about that in the explanations. Link 2s, you got Code Talker and Code Talker Inverted. Double Splash Mage, one Pit Knight early, and one Security Dragon. For Link 3s, we got double Transcode, one Xcode, and one Decode Talker Heat Soul. For Link 4s, Access Code and Firewall. And then for the Exceeds, just the Blaplation and the Allen Burschen for the Math Mech portion of the extra. So yeah, there's your quick and easy deck list. Let's move into some of the card choices here and explain why I'm running what I'm running. Why it ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a... So I think the best way to go about talking about deck choices is to start by going by attribute. Because we make such good use of Cynet Codec, it kind of makes best sense to kind of explain just based on the attributes, right? Because that's how we're searching everything out. So, starting off with our monsters, our light package, probably the biggest package and the most important package in the deck starts with triple Lady Debug, the triple Math Mech Circular, one Sigma, and one Cyberse Converter. All good in their own right, all very important for different reasons. Debug's probably your single best normal summon in the deck, for sure. Circular is probably the like Cyberse monster that gives you the single most amount of value by itself, which is really important. Then you have Sigma. Sigma is also really important as well. Being able to pair himself up here with the Math Mech Circular package as well as the Cyberse Converter being very important. This is like kind of an understated card. Sorry about all the focusing. I can't. I've tried it before. Like my camera like doesn't turn off that focus. But yeah. So Cyberse Converter, really important because there are times where you need debug to like have a search target that kind of just takes you up into access code. And once you've already gone through code generator, this is like the next best card to like help you do that. So very important for that. So after that, we move to our dark package. Very, very simple, just triple microcoder. Very, very important in its own right. I do not play Ibli here. That is definitely something to keep note of. I know a lot of builds in the past have really, really focused on Ibli as an integral part for the deck. I'm not focusing on it here. It just is what it is. I don't know. It's just not that important to me, I don't think. But whatever. What is important is that microcoder gets you to either your conflict or your crosswipe as a Mystic Mine out, or your Signet mining to even get to stuff like circular just to get your Mathmech engine online. Very, very important. For the Earths, we have 1 copy of Code Generator, 1 Dotscaper, and 1 Getchiri Adagnister. Code Generator probably being the single best extender you can search just plain and simple off of debug, but also being an Earth to search off of the transcode when you make it. With codec up, and then Getchiri being a really good high-level target that's going to give you the capability of making something like an access code completely unaffected by card effects, which can be absolutely huge. And then Dotscaper is just mandatory to play with the generator. When you send it, it's going to get you an extra body to the field. Now I move to the fires for your Decode Talker Heat Soul searches from codec as well as just Mathmech pieces. Subtraction and addition, both very good in their own right. Just good extenders if you draw them. It's not even bad at all. But also, it's one of those things where you just want to get them in rotation. They're not as good to see as circular, but they do still get the job done as just singular extenders anyway, because that's just kind of how Cyberse rolls. And for the final Cyberse monsters in the main, triple copies of Parallel Exceed. You play 3 because of Small World. It's the best bridge in the deck to connect any Cyberse monster to another, because it doesn't share any stat lines with any of the other ones. It's the only wind in the deck, and it's the only level 8 I play as well. So pretty much using this as a bridge, I can get to any Cyberse monster as long as I had one in hand already, which is very good. Helps you get to circular with that, but also just a really good extender, part of a lot of your bigger combos as well. Can't ignore that at the end of the day. Into the spells, triple copies of Signet Mining. This is pretty plain and simple. It's either grabbing you, it's almost always grabbing you like Debug, Circular, or Microcoder. There's not a lot of instances where you're grabbing something else. It can come up theoretically, but those are really the big things to know. Incredibly good card at just maintaining consistency. Triple Signet Codec. This is the central pillar of the deck. Without this card, this deck does not have nearly enough power or enough legs to really have a chance in any metagame, really. But this card is just insane. The fact that it's not once per turn, the fact that it's only once per attribute, so you're usually searching, I believe, 5 times in one turn is the normal amount of searching we end up doing. Absolutely insane. Then triple Small World. My only question with this card really is, because of the build I'm on, because I've cut a lot of hand traps and just monsters in general. I only really have 20 monsters in a 45 card list, so it's not even half. Theoretically, you could draw this card and not even have a good monster to pitch off of it. But luckily enough, we have cards like Circular in the deck, so even if all you have is one monster, but you're like, you know what? This one monster, not Circular. Let me get Circular and let me cook from there, is absolutely huge, because obviously we know how much value Circular by itself represents. So I still think this card's worth the play, although it would be a little bit better if I had more monsters in the deck. But there's a lot of stuff that just didn't make it because, like I mentioned earlier, it just doesn't work. Whether it's taking up extra slots in the extra deck, whether it's gumming up the main deck with, if you play Ibli, you have to play Salamangreat Sanctuary and Banelinks in the extra, which is just not ideal in any fashion there. So we wanted to avoid stuff like that, as well as stuff like Formud Skipper, not being bad, but just kind of being another normal summon you could potentially brick on with multiple normals. Just meh. It's not great. And not doing enough to really warrant staying in the deck. Next up, we have the Monster Reborn, single best Cyberse extender in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! With our ability to make use of Link 1s, which is how quickly you put monsters in the graveyard. This card's huge, for sure. It definitely comes up. And especially with stuff like Nib being a big threat to the deck as well. Even though it's not super popular, if you do run into it, that's one of those cards that just kind of helps you beat those kinds of things. And also the weakness for Cybers, if you like just pop their normal summon, they can definitely struggle to play through it. Another card that just helps you work through that. Crosswipe. It's pretty much a Mystic Mine now, but it has extra utility. It's searchable off Microcoder, so you have extra access to it. Otherwise, so even if you do play against a Mystic Mine deck, you know that you can search this turn 1 instead of Signet Conflict, which just makes outing Mystic Mine a little bit safer. But still really cool and like important to have in the deck, I think, with just like Mystic Mine still being legal. Then for like going second, like board breakers, triple Dark Ruler no more. The triple Tactics Talents. Oh, why am I lining them up like this? I'm a fool. Here we go. And then the Mind Control and the Change of Heart. All insanely powerful in their own right. I had hand traps before this because I kind of feel a little bit nicer with Heat Soul to potentially draw them on the opponent's turn. But I kind of just came to the realization that like hand traps are just not strong enough. They're really not. I only play the imperms in the list, and so otherwise I'd kind of just rather see stuff like this. The fact that these can just steal an opponent's monster, all 4 of these, is really, really nice and powerful, especially in a deck like this where we have multiple Link monsters in our deck that allow us to just take any monster. They don't even need Cybers specifically, so being able to take an opponent's monster, so take something from them, but then also use it for us to Link climb and break into boards, really, really powerful. Here, and I just like it. Tactics is probably my favorite slot here, just because it's the only one that actually has the potential to be really good turn 1, going first, whereas the other ones, you kind of just accept that they're not great. But the good thing in this deck is that it has really, really powerful, specifically 2 and 3 card combos, but they're even still just like, you just have Circular. You're going to set up like some stuff, and if these are in your hand, probably just resolving Circular is going to set you up with enough interruption to keep your opponent at bay, so that way these cards can just shred your opponent and let you run away with the duel on the following turn. So I'm still okay with it. I feel good about this. I just think the synergy with like the steal effects in this deck is just too good to ignore. I would absolutely side these if I didn't main them, and I just came to the conclusion that I think like maining them is probably just overall better in this format. Moving on from there, just the last spell in the deck. It's called, don't need to explain this, that's pretty basic. Triple copies of Imperm for the traps, double copies of Rivalry, and then our Conflict and our Super Factorial. Imperm to me is like the single best, like, just any deck can play hand trap in the game right now. The ability to play it against Sprite, where even if they have a good hand where they get to red early, doesn't stop this. So if they didn't open a frog, you still keep them off of a totally awesome, which means their end board is just mediocre at best. So we do not really care. Our deck plays through mediocre end boards insanely well. We want that. So this feels really good at just like capping the ceiling on that deck. And also people playing Tactics right now, so being able to not let them resolve Tactics kind of bricks them up an extra card in hand at times, so that could be good there. That's why it's the only thing I really went with in that aspect. And then Rivalry's insane. It's a really powerful card, specifically going first, that we can draw off of Heat Soul that just kind of blows our opponent out. I decided to go with like more heavy-hitting bomb cards, like Rivalry as a going first option, and then like all the like Dark Rulers and the Snatch Steel cards for like going second options, instead of going for like mid-range hand traps that just feel okay in any scenario. These are like insane in their good scenarios, right? And then we have Conflict in this. These are the only two. These are like the brick portion of this part. And honestly, like some of the only bricks in the deck at all. And I would argue Conflict's not even that bad, because it means you can just search Crosswipe off of Microcoder. So that's just another interruption. Just end on both, because it's so easy for the deck to get to a Code Talker. The only thing with Super Factorials, if you do not connect to the MathMech engine, it is just dead. You have to get 3 MathMechs engraved to make this card like actually worth it to hard draw. That's not impossible, for sure, but it's just more consistent with Conflict to be live. But other than that, that's kind of where we're at there. So there you go. That's it for your actual main deck. Moving to the extra, explaining this. The only like main deck, Link 1 or extra deck, Lingaribo, pretty simple. It's just for like basic hands where you have to kind of clear something out of your as your normal summon. So to just kind of keep playing like a Dotscaper. This allows Dotscaper to be like 1 card plays and stuff, and also versus certain trap matchups can be really clutch. But it's just a basic. It's just like, why play Balinx when you could also have the trap utility that this card has. For the mini coders, Inverted and Code Talker, these just they're just combo pieces. You make these while you have codec up, and search microcoder, search one of your lights, usually circular if you don't already have circular. Double copies of Splash Mage. I like one for turn 1, and I like one for the follow-up to get to access code really easy to end the game. Then for the rest of the Link 2s, one Pit Knight early and one Security Dragon. I think for sure Security Dragon is the most cuttable card I'm playing right now in the extra. But it is generic. It takes any 2 monsters, period, which means even if you get nibbed and you get a token, you can use a token to make it and gets you back into a Cyber's name. Other than that, it's also kind of nice to be able to have some sort of bait removal effect before you even get up into access code. That can definitely be good at certain times. So that's another thing that I kind of thought about there. And then early is really cool. Part of your end board. I'll show it off in the 2-card combo that you're going to see, which will be really cool. So that, and then from here for Link 3's double transcode, the 1 X code, and this is literally just to get a search for the Parallel Exceed. This comes up in every turn. It's crazy. Same thing as Splash Mage. You want 2 for the grind, and then Heat Soul gets you draws. Part of your end board. Kind of. I know we don't play hand traps, so we're not necessarily drawing extra interruptions on the opponent's turn, but like drawing a mind control, drawing a change of heart, drawing like Dark Ruler going into the next turn means even if our board was broken, like we're like gonna have a really good shot at just like barreling through our opponent next turn anyway. So still like this card a lot in the fact that it allows us to like maintain advantage at all times. Link 4 is very simple. This is your offensive option to kill your opponent. This is your defensive option, part of some of your end boards. Add some bounces. Very cool. And then finishing up with these. If you know the Mathmech engine, you don't really need to know much about these. This is what gets you extra extenders to keep going with your plays. And then Laplation is your payoff. You make him with Super Factorial on the opponent's turn to just go ahead and shred all their advantage apart. So yeah, that's it for all the explanations. Hopefully all that made sense. Let's move to a quick little combo tutorial right here, and then and see where we go. Okay, guys, getting into this combo here. Bear with me on this. I am playing this upside down because my camera is kind of recording upside down, which is kind of weird, but I'm going to do my best. But yeah, so the theory behind this combo I'm going to show you here, it's kind of a 2-card combo, but you're going to see 3. You'll get what it means when we start going through the plays. But the idea here is like, what happens if what you can do is pretty much just make one code talker under Signet codec. That's really what we're going to be looking at here. I know technically it's a 3-card combo, but it'll be through an interruption. It'll be pretty much just making code talker while codec's on the field. So yeah, we're going to start off here. We're going to normal summon the debug. Debug effect is going to trigger. Our opponent is going to hand trap that, right? They know that gets us to microcoder. They know that gets us to some other stuff. They want to stop that immediately before we go anywhere else. So we're going to say, okay, I hear you. Nice. Because we have the converter and we're nice like that, we're just going to summon him out of the hand. Then we're going to throw down the codec. From here, we're going to link these 2 off for our microcoder. That is going to trigger our codec to get our first search for any dark Cyber's monster. So broken that this just searches any dark. We'll grab microcoder, the boy himself. From here, we can take these 2 and go off into a transcode talker. That's actually going to trigger 2 effects here. We've actually got coder and engrave that I'll probably make chain link 1, and then codec on field chain link 2, because unless our opponent has exactly ogre, we don't really like, and they would have fired it on the first one anyway. So like once they don't show ogre on the first search, they don't have it, so you want to chain block, making this the latest chain every time. So we're going to guarantee the microcoder search here. We're going to grab our first end board piece, being the conflict. This will just sit in our hand. We'll just put that there so you know it's there. And then a conflict will search for an earth. Your first earth target is always going to be the generator, because it's just plain more simple than the Adagnister. That comes up later. It's more like a grind card, to be honest. And honestly, it might even be cuttable. Now that I'm thinking about it. I still like it, though. Whatever. Okay, so we're going to search the code generator. It still comes up in lines where you just want to get him to make like an access code line that gets you an unaffected access code. But yeah, so from here, we don't want to fire the code generator yet. So we're actually going to use the transcode first, and we're going to reborn our code talker. Then I think what we want to do is we actually want to link down. So I'm actually going to take generator and the regular code talker into a link code talker inverted. So we're taking a 2 and a 1 into another 2, so we're kind of just giving up advantage, but we're going to have another 2 chain links. We're actually not going to worry about his effect to summon from hand. If you had another monster, Cyber's already in hand, you could do that, but we're assuming we don't, so kind of make our combo a little worse than it could be potentially, but you'll see where we end up. So we're going to go Generator 1, Codec 2 for the same reasons we said before. They haven't ogred us yet. They're not going to do it now. So we're going to go ahead and search Circular as our light search off of Inverted, Broken, and then we're also going to send our Dotscaper straight from deck with the Generator in a new chain link. Our Dotscaper is going to summon himself out from grave, and now we're cooking. We are in great position here. We're going to start, we're going to continue here. Let's put the Dotscaper. We're going to fire the Circular, sending our Sigma as cost, of course. Got to send the Sigma as cost. Let's see. Sigma, Sigma, Sigma. There we go. So now we're at an interesting point. So this is one of the things that like kind of makes some of these combos a little bit weird, and you have to think a little bit outside the box to kind of work things around, because we need to find a way to get Sigma nothing in our EMZ so that Sigma can summon itself back while still keeping Circular on the field, so that we can guarantee ourselves the ability to get that search into Superfactorial line. So we're actually going to link off the transcode. Again, we're going to link down transcode and Dotscaper, and we're going to link those two down into Splash Mage. Very, very strange line here, but trust me, it's going to work out. From here, we're going to just immediately fire the Sigma before we forget about anything. And we're just going to summon him back, so we have nothing in the EMZ, and trigger our Circular to go ahead and search. This is any spell or trap, which means it's just got to be Superfactorial, which is not there. Oh, right there. Cool. Then we're going to overlay these immediately. So we now have both of our traps in hand already, which is very nice. We're going to overlay these two for, whoops, not Laplation, but Alimbertion. Then we're going to detach the Sigma just to guarantee him engrave. And then we're going to search ourselves one of our other extenders, which I like to do subtraction here. No, we're going to get a search. It doesn't really matter. We're going to get both. So we're just going to grab one of them, addition. Then from here, we can fire our Splash Mage. It really doesn't matter what you're reborn. I tend to do Dotscaper just because if we do get nibbed from this point on, this at least gives our nib token a 2100 booty. It's not great. Doesn't really change much, but whatever. That's just how I like to think about it. So from here, we need to be smart, not silly. What do? I think what we have to do here is we need to take these two into Xcode. I think we go Xcode prior to... I just worked this combo out earlier today. So I think I go Xcode here. Does it matter? I think I'm going to put them here. So that we can go Xcode effect to search. Or I'm sorry, Signet Codec effect to search. Sorry, I'm going crazy. So we're going to grab ourselves our Parallel Exceed. We now have 4 cards in hand, beating a hand trap, starting with 3 in hand, with a ton of advantage coming our way. So here's where things get like kind of weird. I think the option from here is to go like, we can just straight up summon the addition if we want here, which I think I'm just going to do. Fire this now. We'll buff like the inverted. Doesn't really matter. It's only till the end of the turn, I believe. Then we can take these two into, oops, that's not my extra deck, into the Code Talker Heat Soul. That's going to trigger our codec yet again, and we'll search the final Mathmech card in our main deck aside from the extra copies of Circular. We'll grab the Subtraction. We can fire said Subtraction right now. I have a little fly running around. So we can fire the Subtraction, which will lower the attack of our Xcode because he's the least... Actually, do I even need to do that? Oh, I'm sorry. On summon of this, here's what I'm missing. Woo! Good thing I caught this. When we're searching off codec, we also need to trigger the Paralux Seeds. We'll summon him, and then we'll get the other one. Sorry about this. I just figured out this combo, like base combo. If you can just make Code Talker with codec on the field, what we can do. So we'll summon these. That's the most important thing there. Then we can take these two, and we can just immediately make Pit Knight early. And then we can also take these two up into a Firewall Dragon. Woo! Crazy! And I think that's the end of our combo at the end of the day. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up setting both of these cards. And that's our technically like 2.5 card combo. I mean, technically it would be even better if just if debug just resolved. But like, it's pretty insane. I mean, honestly. So yeah, here's what we got. We've got, for interruptions, we've got, oh, I'm sorry, I also didn't say this. We're going to draw a card on our turn off Heat Soul. Then once we get to the opponent's turn, we've got a second draw off of Heat Soul, which if we want, can trigger our early for an on-field negate. Firewall for a bounce. It only has one co-link, so maybe there's a way to work this around where you can set up the Firewall with double co-links. I don't necessarily know, but I like ending on the Heat Soul because it guarantees follow-up and advantage. So that's kind of cool. So like 1 interruption, 2 interruption, 2 draws, which could have been on our turn. We could have drawn a Rivalry, an Imperm, a Called By, Cross Swipe, any of those settable cards, whatever. That still works. And then we also have Super Factorial, which is going to summon 3 of these Mathmech cards from grave, and then make ourselves Laplation, which is going to rip like 3 cards off our opponent's field. 1 monster, 1 spell trap, and 1 card from hand. And then we just have a generic Omni Negate in Conflict that's going to negate, banish, and also give us, say your opponent can't activate another copy of that card till the end of the next turn. Insanely powerful. And as far as follow-up, we've got Subtraction still in hand. We never even need to use it. We just still have it, which is crazy. You could also technically play like a copy of Degrade Buster as a cool like extra end piece, or maybe like follow up like more boss monstery piece. That maybe is something interesting. As well as from grave, we should still have Sigma in grave to be able to just summon back if we can clear our EMZ. Nice and easy. We could literally take like Heat Soul and something else into an access code after we've drawn again and immediately make clear the EMZ so we can bring back Sigma, whatever. And then on that, we just already have Microcoder. We already have Generator to potentially Reborn and link off with again to trigger their effects again for another Code Talker effect, and just pop off from there. But I think this is a great baseline to see for the deck. You know, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4 interruptions, 2 draws, and at least 2 follow-ups. 3 follow-ups include like what Codec's going to get you down the line as well. All off of just making 1 Code Talker while you have Codec already up on the field. Insane value, insane payoff, and this is without playing anything like Ibli. If Nib becomes more popular in a format, I might go down and look at Ibli again, but the excerpt becomes a little bit tighter. We have to wiggle some things around, cut some things at that point, but if it's necessary, you got to do what you got to do. So we will see where we end up at that point. Alright guys, into the test hand portion of this video again. Remember, I am doing this upside down, so it's not going to be as easy as I would like. But here we go. 5-card hand. Okay. First card, Circular. Then we have 2 of our Board Breaker cards, which I love to see because this hand's like already like, well, it's okay. It's not an amazing hand, but it's one of those hands where like, even going second, like I've just got like both of these going second and like ways to play. Like if we drew again, we would also, oh, that's perfect. We would have also drawn a Small World to like cash that other Circular in to get like a Lady Debug or something. Should have been crazy. But assuming we're going first, so we can put these aside. These will just come up later in the duel for sure. We're just playing pretty much with the double Circular and the Parallel Seed, which will be really cool. So here's what we do. I think we just go start by Special Summon Circular. Have to do that. Of course, we're going to start, and then he's going to send a Mathmech as cost. That's of course going to be Sigma. It's by far the best one to be sending here. We're going to use Sigma immediately, and we'll just bring him out next to the Circular. From here, we will go ahead and overlay. No, I'm sorry. Got to remember to search off Circular. That's going to grab us the trap. Then we're going to use these two to overlay. Alan Bershin, detached. Doesn't really matter what we detach, to be honest. It's going to end up in grave regardless. And we'll go ahead and search another one of our extenders. I like to grab subtraction here because subtraction is not always guaranteed to be live, but addition is. So we can use subtraction as long as there's a monster on field. But if subtraction can't subtract 1,000, you can always add 1,000. You can't always subtract 1,000, if you know what I'm saying. So summon subtraction, subtracting from Alan Bershin. Then we'll go ahead and finally, we're going to link these two off into a Splash Mage. Whoop-de-doo! Nothing is triggering here except for Parallel Exceed, which we will summon to our Splash Mage zone, and then we'll use his effect on field, and we'll summon again another Parallel Exceed. Whoop. And we're in a good position. We've got a lot of link material coming in. We also have a normal summon, so this last Mathmech Circular could come up for that. But I don't know. We'll see. Let's go Splash Mage effect and just go ahead and reborn something with the defensive stat. Yeah, I guess it's just going to be circular. So we've actually got a good amount of defense here, even if we do get nibbed this late into the combo. I think I want to go into transcode because we have enough bodies to actually get into some stuff. So we'll make transcode. We'll use transcode to go ahead and reborn Splash Mage. Then we'll go these two into Heat Soul. Yeah, I think that's pretty right. And then we can take these two into Pit Knight Early. No, not Pit Knight Early. What am I talking about? Firewall. So I'm kind of sitting here and I'm trying to think, was there a way for me to ever really make use of this last circular? I don't really think there was. To be honest, I could have summoned him, but I didn't have enough bodies. I was one body short of actually being able to potentially do a Pit Knight Early play as well. But I'm not mad about it. Honestly, this is solid. With this, we're going to set the Super Factorial. We're going to hold these three in hand. Our goal here, also, hold on. We're going to go ahead. Ooh, okay, so this is where things change. Because, well, it's kind of a little bit late by the time we make that Heat Soul. So I don't really know what we would do, but, this could potentially get us an extender. Is there even an extender that, does anything at this point for us? I don't think so. So, I'm also considering playing, a level 1 hand trap for this, for a scenario exactly like this, where maybe I'm looking at this and I'm this circular is not really doing much for me, even next turn as a follow-up. Am I better off just going ahead and, if I just played, a copy of DD Crow? It's a level 1, that way we could, use circular to, get a level 1, banish a level 1 in deck, which would probably be, an extra microcoder, because I don't think they share any stats. They're not the same attribute, different levels. They're both just Cybers, and then maybe he could search DD Crow off of that by banish. Oh no, DD Crow's dark as well. Maybe a Veiler, just something a level 1. Okay, just add another interruption potentially. That's definitely something. But at least for our purposes, we got to draw. Then we're gonna pass turn. We're gonna draw again because that's Heat Soul. That's awful. That's really bad. But whatever. Again, it's we have the card, so we can get rid of it. We can just pitch one for that, pretty much. But yeah, we've got 5 cards in hand. We've got the Super Factorial, which is going to get us Laplation on the opponent's turn once we summon back all 3 of the Mathmechs from grave, which is going to give us, the ability to rip 3 cards from our opponent. We've got the draw 2 going. If he lives, we're going to draw again, and we've got the bounce off of Firewall. So 1, 2 interruptions technically, but this is a really, really strong one. And the double draws, even if they break through this, which is very, very possible. Our board is not insane. We've just got a search for another starter to play next turn. We've got 2 board breakers, which just almost guarantee that this is whatever we have is going through. We're going to draw converter or generator for turn, and on top of that, if Heat Soul somehow made it, we draw again and just have like also an imperm. So like this is the potential that we have here. It's what I like about the deck is that it has a backbone as well, like Heat Soul, so that even if things don't work out, you're just like, I'm just drawing a ton of cards. I know my board only has like 2 interruptions, but I'm gonna have 5-6 cards. If I don't die, I am just coming back with it with like a ton of fury, and they're gonna have to worry about that as it's coming. So really, really cool. I think it's a cool little test hand. Not a nice, super ideal, crazy wombo combo test hand, but a cool test hand that gives you an idea of like how some of the less, optimal hands can still look at times, which is really, really cool. So there we go. I think that's good for the deck profile. I'm pretty satisfied with that. Sorry again about the recording conditions. I know the webcam was going in and out of being splotchy. I'm using this new program. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. My Wi-Fi says it's cooking, but sometimes it's not. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. I want to get another webcam that's just higher quality, so that way one can actually record like the actual stuff down here, while the other one's just like a face cam, and be able to make use of both at the same time. That would be so clutch. But we'll get there when we get there. Thank you so much for watching, though. Anyways, I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet and you want to see more stuff like this down the line. And I will see you in the next video. Also, let me know your thoughts on the build. This is the most up-to-date build for Code Talkers. You guys know I love Code Talkers. I want to know your thoughts, any suggestions that you might have. Please let me know in the comment section down below. I want to work together to make the best decks we can. Bye. Goodbye. I'm out of here as soon as I get a hold of